What's going on, everybody? It's Classic J the OG back again with a more in-depth tutorial of stream elements, specifically with OBS Live. Alright, so what we're gonna do, I figured out I missed a couple things from the first video, and so this one is gonna be kind of how to create overlays, kind of from the free overlays, because most places you either need a subscription or you have to pay for an overlay that's already made. So we're just going to focus on some free overlays that you can use to kind of jumpstart your stream and get ahead of the game on Twitch, Facebook, whatever you use to stream. So let's dive into it. I noticed that I missed a little bit on my bitrate too. So I'm going to kind of explain a little bit more of the bitrate. 1080p 60 fps, you need a minimum bit rate of 4500 kilobytes per second. Again, that's solely based on your internet connection. For 720p 60 fps, you need a minimum bit rate of 3500 kilobytes per second, also solely based on your internet connection. So as you can see down here, I'm running 46 around there on a wired connection. With Wi-Fi, it's kind of harder unless you have a really good router or just insane internet connection in general to kind of keep that connection going smoothly. So if your bitrate chops and you're having problems with your frames chopping in game, there's a couple things you can do. You can go to your settings here. Excuse me. You can go to your output here. Excuse me, your video output. And when we were talking about it in the first video, like I said, the output scaled resolution is what your stream's going to see. So if you're having problems and you don't know whether or not you can run 1080p 60 fps or 720p 60 fps, try lowering your output scaled resolution down. And if your bitrate is still chugging, there may be an internet upgrade needed. However, skip frames can come from multitude of things, whether or not your encoder is being heavily used, and we were talking about that. That is your software or your hardware. So like I said, I recommend using one that's gonna is going to be able to do the encoding process. If you have a lower end GPU and your CPU is a little bit better, I'd recommend using the software encoder. If you have a lower end processor and a higher end GPU, I'd recommend using the hardware encoder. Again, you're just going to have to find that sweet spot and figure out why your frames are chopping, and then you'll eventually find what's right for you. When you do chop frames and when you're trying to look for these things, you can look right here in this section and it'll tell you why you're skipping frames, how many skip frames, how much memory is being used, how much disk space is available. I have a lot of games downloaded and I use a lot of software on my computer, so I only have like 102 gigs left, but I do have a terabyte solid state drive. So again, this just solely depends on your hardware, so don't get discouraged. Find your sweet spot, and if you can't, it may be time to upgrade. However, there's always ways around that by just lowering settings. So let's jump into creating overlays. I didn't really touch base on that because I wanted to try to keep the first video just kind of simple. So let's go ahead and just dive into it quick here. So let's go back to stream elements. And again, the first video I was trying to show just a simple thing. So we're going to figure out where everybody's at with this. I'm using my alt account. When you go to stream elements, you sign into stream elements, you're going to see all these things over here. Again, don't let it discourage you. Go ahead and keep all these down. We're going to start with the simple basics here. We're going to go to my overlays. Now, if you don't have any, which you probably won't, they'd show up right here. So to create a new overlay, you're going to come over here and create a blank overlay. and it's going to ask you what resolution you want to use. Again, this is solely based on your monitor and what display resolution you want to push out. We're just going to focus on 1080p. That's generally going to be the focus of everything I do because it's the most commonly used resolution. And then start. So you can see over here, welcome to your overlay editor. Start building your stream by adding a widget. So each widget does its individual thing. You have alerts, you have the engagements, which are, media request, countdown, contests, giveaways, merchandise, all kinds of things. Your labels are going to be kind of the more core to your stream. You're going to look at here, subscribers, followers, bits, tips, host, and, just some other things here. You can add images, add videos, custom widgets from a browser source, anything like that. So if you want to create your own overlay, you would get an image, you'd set the image, and then let's just say we wanted this to be our overlay. Obviously, we don't want that to be our overlay, but you get the gist of it. Click an image, submit, boom. It's now in your overlay. You can move it wherever you want. You can, put it in the corner, whether you want this to be, something that's on your stream or whether you want it to be your whole overlay. I mean, that's easy said, easy done. You can mess with the position, the style, the height and the width. I mean, you can make it anything you want to do. You can also add videos, you can add text. You can make it as big as you want. That's too big. So that's just kind of how to add custom things, as well as alert boxes. Okay, so it's going to give you all of these once you add an alert box, giving you a regular set image. Also lower the volume. I've noticed it's very loud. So to make sure your alert box is working, boom. You can move it wherever you want. Whether you want it over here, over here, over here, over here, whatever, okay? Same thing, you just keep adding widgets. You're creating your own, you'll want to put your subscribers here, wherever you want it to be. You could put, recent sub, and then someone's name, and then once someone subs to you, boom, right here. It'll keep updating every time you get a new sub. This is why I love this OBS, Stream Elements live preview, because it shows you in real time what's going to be happening. It's also going to show you in OBS when you have it hooked to your Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, whatever have it. Alright. So instead of the customs, let's say you don't want to dive into creating customs, you don't want to work too much into it, okay? Go back. Let's focus on just a regular overlay, okay? You can go to themes gallery, and they have all these free themes, alerts, anything you can think of, widgets, whatever you want. Again, we're just going to scroll down here, and we're going to hit this, create. It's going to bring you up to this little screen right here. We're just going to call it test because it's going to have you name your overlay. You're going to want to create it. Then it's going to give you the links to each browser. These are what you're going to be using to put inside of your scenes and sources, so you can have your overlays on your stream. Now, if you don't like the already set ones, you don't have to copy. Okay, you can go to See Themes, and then here it's going to pull up your themes here. Now these are kind of duplicates because I'm just showing you how to put them in here. So let's say you want to update your in-game theme. You don't like how it looks, so you're just going to click Edit here. This is again using that overlay creator, but an already made one for free. So down here it's got your name, your social medias, a cool little feature of your songs currently playing, subscriber, donation, top donations, recent followers, your webcam overlay. You can do anything you want with this, just like I was showing you earlier from creating a blank one. Move wherever you want. You can move this over here. Let's just say we're good with how it looks. Whatever you want, okay? Your alert box is good. You know that the emulation's working. Recent donations. Tips are working. Recent followers working. Kind of let it run through. Make sure all your settings are working. Usually with the set overlays, they're all pretty much going to be easily done compared to creating your own overlays. So once you're okay with it, go ahead and hit save. Copy the URL link. You want to come back to OBS. And this is where we're going to dive into setting scenes and setting sources inside of the scene. So you can see here I have my scene set to YouTube videos. My source inside is set to a window capture, a screen capture to capture my whole screen so you can see everything I'm doing. Let's just say that we're on scene 2 here, and we're going to add another source, okay? With the URL that you got from your overlay, you're going to add a browser. Let's just say overlay, okay? You're going to bring up a box. You're going to delete that. You're going to paste the URL link, and you're going to take it to 1920 by 1080 resolution. This will then set the screen over top, and there you have your overlay, okay? So if you like where that's at position-wise, go ahead and lock that in. I mean, that's really the simplicity of importing an overlay into a scene. Now, your alert box is already inside of this. So to test and make sure your alert box is working, you come back over to Stream Elements, and you can actually emulate a live event and see that it's working not only in Stream Elements, but also inside of OBS. Again, it'll update everything for you. Now, adding a webcam. So to add it, you would come down to Scenes, click the add, then you would come down to your video capture device, and we'll just name it webcam 3. It's going to bring up a bunch of things here. You're going to want to customize the resolution and pick the resolution that best suits your webcam. If your webcam supports all these resolutions, I'd go with the best one. And again, this is just kind of finding your sweet spot. I recommend 720 or 1080 for the best results. You would click the resolution, you would select your webcam, then you would hit OK. And you can also, depending on your webcam's preferences, you can do autofocus, low light compensation, exposure, but that's a little more in depth than we need to get. But again, you can kind of tweak the settings a little bit there. But once you do that, you would click OK, and you would set your webcam. It would come up here. We have our webcam already set up. All you got to do is just click hide. And then you put it in. You can drag it wherever you want. But again, we're going to put it inside where we want to put it, which is right here. And then lock it down so, you know, you can't move it for future use. Now you got your webcam in here and you see my ugly mug. We can move on to the next step in the process, which is adding a new scene for your be right back, for your talk, for your ending, depending on how you want your stream to look. Okay? So let's go ahead and hide this again. We're going to add a new scene. And you would add end. Well, let's just say we added that new scene. It popped up. You click the new scene. And for my ending, it would be this here. Right here. Same thing. All you would do, add browser source. And just call it end. This is where you would come back over to Stream Elements. You would go to the end scene here. You don't need to edit it. If you wanted to, that's okay. But for this, we're just going to copy the URL, just as we did for our live scene. Then come back to OBS. Go ahead and paste that URL link in there. And again, 1920 by 1080. And it's going to show you your stream ended. And it's really just the same repetitive process for the next steps. Add a scene, and we'll call that one BRB, and then this is where your BRB scene would be. So then you would add a browser source. You would come here, you would copy it or edit it, whichever you prefer. You would come back to OBS, and you would call it BRB. You would remove this, you'd paste it, you'd 1920 by 1080 it, and stretch it to the screen. And you would repeat that process until you had all your scenes. So for me, I have my live scene, I have my BRB, I have my starting, my ending, and my chat screen. Hello. I think that's going to be it for this video. Again, it's just a basic tutorial on how to add sources and scenes. If you have any other questions or comments, go ahead and comment below the video. Give me a thumbs up if you like it. Again, these are my first videos I've made on YouTube of how to do things. I'm still learning. Everyone's still learning. It's always a process. But again, thank you for watching. Thanks for coming by. Always a pleasure. Y'all have a great day.